Just a few months after he scored the game-winning touchdown in college football's championship game, DJ Dozier wanted yet another challenge. So he called his agent and told him he wanted to play baseball as well. Not only did he make it to the majors, he's one of only 7 athletes in the last 50 years to do that and play in the NFL.
Sports seem like an unlikely fit for former National Football League and Major League Baseball player DJ Dozier. He wore a corrective bar between his legs and feet to change the way they were growing as a child. With fierce determination, along with his parents' refusal to accept defeat, Dozier went on to be one of the rare two-sport professional athletes in history. In his book, Decide to Dominate, Dozier shares how he overcame his personal challenges and how he transferred success from one endeavor to another.
Please welcome to the 700 Club the former NFL and MLB athlete and local legend, we might add, DJ Dozier. It's wonderful to have you here.
Thank you, Terry. Great to be here.
Great to have you with us. You mentioned that you had to wear corrective shoes as a child. What happened and how did that become the solution?
So, apparently the doctor mentioned to my parents that I was going to have some issues and that without this correction that I wouldn't be able to walk, let alone do anything beyond that. So for over a year, I believe it was 2 years actually, I had to wear these this corrective bar and special shoes, and it was turned a certain way. And it was difficult from what I understand. I mean, my parents.
How old were you at this point?
I was 1, 2 years old.
So they caught it early on.
They did, and it was quite an ordeal, I think, for everyone. And I had to sleep with that all night. So it was I've seen that on youngsters. The bar between, I mean, you literally can't move your feet in one direction or the other. You're just stabilized. You come from a long lineage of family members who chose to dominate within their cultural needs at the time. Talk a little bit about your family heritage and your background. It's quite amazing. Well, my parents grew up in Norfolk. And, what's interesting is when I started to do some research myself, I found out some very interesting history. And my mother in particular went through a very difficult time when she lost her father to an accident. He was actually a bulldozer actually fell on top of him. And a few days after that, he passed away. But what's interesting is she was 14. A year and a half later, her mother was diagnosed with cancer and eventually died. And so at 15, 16 years old, she had to deal with that. Now, my father and her knew each other. And so together they went through this ordeal and that young in life and to deal with such a tremendous tragedy. And I think that's part of why I'm myself just so adamant about being on top and taking dominion in certain situations, because they went through that and they passed on that type of attitude.
And that tenacity, which you also need to have if you're going to be a two-sport athlete. I mean, some people wait until they end a career in one field before they try to move into another, but you actually did that at the same time. What was that like? Well,
it was when I first called my agent and told him that I wanted to do this.
He said, what?
Well, yeah, he went silent on me for about 10 seconds. And right, he said, what? Why do you want to do that? And but for me, it was just something that was in my heart to do. I believe it was spirit-led. I really do. And because I couldn't shake it. I couldn't shake the thought of not doing it.
Yeah.
And so I prayed about it, and eventually I went and started working out and preparing, and I found myself in the middle of trying out with the baseball uniform on.
Unbelievable. Did you love both sports equally?
I did. I grew up playing both, really 3. And by the time I left high school, I wanted to play. I was actually supposed to play 2 in college, but it didn't work out because of the circumstances. And so that drive to be involved in athletics and specifically baseball was always there.
Wow. You frequently say no pain, no gain. Talk a little bit about how that's impacted your life.
Well, I think in life, anything we want, we have to deal with the anguish of changing. And most of us don't like change.
Well, that's the truth,
right?
Isn't it?
So there's often pain and mental pain, sometimes physical, but certainly mental. And so to overcome and to gain something, you have to get through the change / the pain. Yeah. And so if we're willing to do that, we'll find ourselves on the other side of what we'll call mastery.
So did your mom instill that in you? Like, where did you get that from? You know, a lot of people have dreams, but dreams without action, as you say, are words on a piece of paper. I mean,
yeah, I think so. I think my parents instilled that. I think everything they went through. My mother talking to her mother on her deathbed, and her mother saying, "Look, you're going to be the one that's going to do this and help the other kids," and so that instilled a stubbornness and a tenacity. I think both my parents have, and that passed on. And, because I've often asked, like, why am I so like this? And there's no doubt it comes from my parents.
What's wrong with me? Or right with me?
Right, exactly.
How are you passing that on?
Well, every day. Just like I grew up in a household to inspire, I try to do that with our kids. And, sometimes not as successful, but, the fact that you give them something, and you give them a vision in life that they can be more than what they currently are and more than what they ever dreamed of if they depend on the Lord, and inspire them that way.
So how did your faith impact all of this, DJ?
Oh, without faith, I wouldn't be here. I wouldn't be here certainly in this capacity. I mean, there were so many instances where I had to depend on God, and God always was faithful. And so, having that faith, and of course my parents, going back, and they taught me that faith was, actually the only way to go. And so having faith in God has gotten me through everything.
What's the greatest challenge you've ever faced?
Oh boy, that's a tough one. I think writing this book.
Been there, done that. I'm with you.
Right. I mean, it really was a tremendous, tremendous challenge, because it took 3.5 years to do. Wow, yeah. There were several days, several nights. I didn't know what I was doing, what I was supposed to write. But that started when I woke up one morning. And I heard the words, "Decide to dominate." Yeah. And I believe it was the Lord speaking to me. And I thought I was. But then I saw instances where I wasn't. And so I began asking God, well, teach me how. Yeah,
well, he gives us dominion overall. We have to take it, don't we?
Absolutely.
Yeah. But do you believe that's the role of every person of faith?
Absolutely. I believe that God's given us a birthright. And that birthright is to take dominion, and certainly in our own lives, and help others to do the same.
Yeah. Well, you surely have done it and continue to do it. And just want to mention, you can get more from DJ Dozier by getting his book. It's called Decide to Dominate. It's very inspiring. You can find out how to get a copy by going to cbn.com. You want to get a hold of this for you and for the kids in your life that you're trying to inspire. Thank you so much. What a great story God's given you.
Thank you for having me.